What does is that the most people. So I had to stop and kind of, we know what's going on here. We don't necessarily have to those things be called on God.
Mike, if you come up here, I'll get this recorded. Put
Put
it on that social media that you love so much.
I would say, what do you want me to talk about? How long you want me to talk? Because I'm not shy. And I've had some ask me to speak and they say, how long do you have? And I say, well, about an hour. And then about 55 minutes, they'll say, hey, you're up in 5 minutes. So I will keep it brief. Anyway, Michael Harmison is my name. I'm not a native of this area. I'm from Iowa, a lot of Iowegians down here. I never had intention to be a mayor or any public figure. I own Harmony's cheese store. All right, the big blue yellow building. So I'll kind of tell you the background, how I got here to the mayor, and then we'll talk about the developments. But for 32 years, I was in the product fundraising business, selling fruit and cheese, to mainly Future Farmers of America, FFAs. And so I was based in Iowa and worked for a company, and I traveled to Iowa, Missouri. I went to college in Warrensburg, Missouri. I was one of those wrestlers for Iowa. It was pretty good, but I wasn't Iowa State good. But back in the day, back in the 80s, for Missouri, my brother and I were pretty good for Missouri. And so we came down here and kind of set up roots and went to school here. My brother's actually a judge in Springfield, Missouri. So he's the one that first came down here full time. Then my mom followed him. He used to be the senior vice president of Ozark Mountain Bank down in Branson. And I stayed up in Iowa, had 2 kids, and started visiting Lake of the Ozarks. And we stayed clear up at Ivy Bend, 15.5 mile marker. A buddy of mine had a little cabin, nothing fancy. Right next to his cabin was a 3-bedroom trailer. And I'd bring my 14-foot, 70-foot Thundercraft down with the Volvo engine and had a great time. So when my son graduates, I'm moving to Lake of the Ozarks. But I was selling fruit and cheese in Iowa and Missouri, just happened to live in Iowa. And then one year, the people that owned that company, the owner left. The second owner's 3 kids came on board, and the youngest of the 3 kids said, hey, yeah, I'm gonna run the company. And the writing was on the wall. And so back in 2004, I said, you know what, I think I can do this on my own. So I started Harmison's hometown fundraising. My last name Harmison. Traveling Iowa, Missouri, and said, someday I'm gonna live in Lake of the Ozarks. And when my son graduated, so that happened 9 years ago. And the bypass had went in a couple, 3 years before then. So property was relatively cheap. Lake Realty was that building on 3 acres. So I bought that building and said, you know what, I know a little bit about cheese. So worked the tail off, redid the inside, painted it blue and yellow because of FFA colors. My nickname in college was Harvey, so opened a little cheese store. And everybody kept saying, oh my God, you opened a cheese store in the dead end? Good luck, but you're not going to make it. Well, at the time, it didn't really have to be that successful because the fundraising was good. I'm still calling on FFAs in Iowa, Missouri. I just happen to live in Missouri, and so traveling back and forth. My little minivan out in the parking lot, if anybody saw it, and it was 395,000 miles on it. I used to drive 60,000 miles a year when I first came down here. Everson Company went to them and they said, hey, how many miles do you drive a year in the 60s? Oh, you don't. I said, yeah, I do. Here's what. So that old man's just treating me well. So did that for years. Then COVID hit, and we used to sell to about 360 schools in a few states, and then COVID hit and shut things down. The cheese store had been doing pretty good. I built a building out back. If you've seen it before, it has 2 loading docks, has 854 square foot freezer, and 854 square foot refrigerator, 2,500 square feet in the middle. And it was built for an event center during the summer months, little wedding parties, bag tournaments, poker tournaments. And in the winter, I needed it for my fundraising business to store cookie dough and fruit and all that sort of stuff. And when COVID hit, things got a little worse, and spent a lot of money on that building and went to go get occupancy. And the city said, well, you can't get occupancy. I said, well, why not? I mean, it's going to put money on this beautiful building. And I was one of the first places down the dead end to start something down here. Well, city ordinance says it's got to be paved or concrete. And I said, okay, well, I didn't know that. My builder should have known that. I didn't, but hey, here's the deal. Where Harmy's is now, my plan B, that's coming down and I'm gonna build a new Harmy's attached to this big building. So I don't want to put in $100,000 worth of concrete and everything, and then in a year and a half, 2 years, tear that down and you just give me a little bit of latitude, you know, the asphalt, or excuse me, the grading is perfect, the compacted gravel is perfect, we have ADA accessible. People can drive in, I mean, ADA accessible bathrooms, I mean, everything's up to code except for that. And just give me a year and a half, make some money off the building, and I kept being told no and no and no. I went to the board meeting one night and I had posters printed. And I said, hey, here's what I've done. I'm making money for the city of Osage Beach. And every dollar I make goes to the city. Can you just give me a little bit of latitude? I'm just looking for a year and a half. I called the mayor one time and I said, John, I said, I found out there's many businesses in Osage Beach that are not up to code. And I get it, okay, but can we just have a little variance? And he said no. And 3 aldermen came out. They said no. So 2 Julys ago, I was standing out on a loading dock in the middle of summer, and I looked and I said, "Is this your final answer? No help here? No. I'm taking your job." And I won't tell you what he said. But anyway, so I talked to businesses. My whole thing was, we're thriving down here. COVID brought from 6 million to about 12 million visitors. Businesses have to follow rules and regulations, legal purposes, health purposes, safety I get it. But sometimes it gets ridiculous. We had a 2018 International Building Code that was adopted that are for places like Los Angeles, and Chicago, and New York, not for Lake Ozarks. We have a 2017 International Electric Code. And if you remember, one of the things that probably got me elected was about the time out of the middle of the campaign, they came out with City of Osage Beach. In order to change your own water heater, you had to get a permit. Then you had to go get it, then you had to have it installed, and you had to inspect it, and you had to pay to have it inspected before you could put in your own water heater. And that went viral. And finally people realized. So I ran on pro-growth, pro-economic development, got every rule and regulation to take some of the constraints off to people. And I ran the rest of the campaign and got a lot of businesses in my corner. And we had a 9-year-old and 6-year mayor that I beat him by 11 votes. And I actually met with all the aldermen about a week before the election, and I said, I just want to meet with you. And well, 2 would meet, but the other 4, and I said, I think I got this gig. I think I'm gonna win this thing. What do you want to know from me? And a couple of them said, well, we think you ran out of spite because you didn't get your way. That bothered us. I said, you know what, I did. Not anymore. Okay, that's why I ran. But I just see a lot of things coming down the pipe here in Osage Beach, and we need to be pro-growth and pro-development and take some of the constraints off. So anyway, went into the office, and the first week, let's just say it was a cool reception. But it didn't take long. We worked together really well. Since then, we do have the Oasis project coming in. I'm sure most of you know about it. It's a $360 million project, a 400-room Marriott. They're going to have a 800-car parking garage. There's going to be a 26,000 square foot retractable roof water park. Up front, they're going to have Ferris wheels. They're going to have a 100-foot Ferris wheel. And kind of the joke that I have with one of the developers, Jeff Tegetoff, is a few months ago they came out in Branson and said they have 1 million lights on their Ferris wheel. And so I kept telling Jeff, got 1,000,001. We're going to take that over. So we're working with developers, and now all of a sudden I keep telling people, when they pull out of that Oasis here in a couple of years, they're going to go left or right. And if they go left, they're going to go over the bridge. All those businesses are going to flourish. If they go right, you think about the dead end of Osage Beach. If anybody's looking to invest some money, now's the time to do it, because we're expecting about 500,000 people a year visiting that place. And when they pull out, they're going to go left or right. We did have a little bit of I don't know, conflict, right word. Those that are not fans of TIFs are not a fan of this project. And I'm not a tax and spend person, but I'm also, would you rather have 1% of 360 million where you have 2% of nothing. And the tip dollars, for instance, that parking garage, $35 million of concrete parking garage. So that's what a lot of money is gonna go towards, the infrastructure. So it's a free parking garage, people are gonna be able to go there and visit the park. The park is gonna be a free park. Wristbands will be sold, if somebody wants to ride a ride, you pay for the fee. If you wanna grab a beer, pay for the beer. It's not one of the parks like, Worlds of Fun, we have to spend $125 for a day. So we have that going on right now, it's good stuff too, and kind of one thing I said is, unfortunately, sometimes the anti-taxers are totally against tax. They get upset when somebody gets a tax break. And that's why I'm like, I'm not a big TIF guy, but sometimes it just makes sense. If somebody was coming and buy an existing building with all the pipes, all the concrete, everything there, well, they're not gonna need no, but when they have none of that, and part of the tax dollars go to help with infrastructure, in my opinion, it just makes sense. So we have that going in. Also, I was contacted, and I can't tell too much, but we've got another development that has approached me a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, we're gonna be reaching out to the city here in a few weeks on the backside of Jeffries. Okay, they're looking to do something there. We have about 700 apartment complexes that are going to be going up. We have the same Jeff Pegas
Units,
yes, I'm sorry, what did I say?
apartment complex.
Complex units, yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Which would just barely better.
Yeah. 268 units, Jeff Tegakoff is in the process of doing right now, it's down Sycamore, it's 10 buildings, state of the art. A lot of people say, well, is it affordable housing? It certainly is. Okay, it's not low income housing, it's affordable. For the single units, they're talking about $900. For the double, about 14. And I keep telling everybody, if we have 2 teachers, 2 police officers, 2 EMTs, for $700 a piece, they got a 2-bedroom unit, dog park, pool, clubhouse. It's going to be very, very nice. That same developer has came to us and said he can build another 360 some, and a third developer has approached the city and said soon you can announce about another 300. So between those, you've got about 700 apartment complexes, and we certainly need that. Down Sycamore Creek Road. Yep.
Gene, it's where the old golf course was. Sycamore Creek Golf Course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And can you congratulate on that water park with those extending condos, or that still there with the green
Yes.
people in the association?
Yes, Lakewood is a timeshare unit and not a condo. I say that because the reason I say that is because social media is a wonderful thing. Again, I probably would not have been elected without it, but sometimes people go down the rabbit hole and it's so frustrating. And I've learned a lot of stuff roll off my back more, but the Lakewood is a timeshare unit. The clear back in November, the developers of the Oasis went to the timeshare HOA and said, we would like to buy your property. Okay, and they had a price. And the HOA board said, no, there's about $4.5 million. This is public knowledge now. Okay, about $4.5 million. We would like to buy, and they have 1,100 deeded properties. They cannot live there. Okay, they own a week, is what they have. And people on Facebook, they're saying, oh my gosh, with all our housing projects, you mean the city of Osage Beach is going to pick people out of their home? And then, oh, they sure are. And don't do that. But they went to them back November to be like to buy it. Didn't tell the 1,100 owners that. In fact, they told them just the opposite, that we're not in negotiations with Oasis. Well, they went back and forth for a while. Finally, the HOA board from Lakewood went to the development group and said, all right, $8 million. Plus, we want you to put $2 million in a escrow to pay insurance, and we can't do that. Finally, the developer said, okay, we'll do it. Almost doubled it, signed off on it, and sent it back to the board. And still the board had not talked to the owner. And then they started slow walking this offer. It was their offer. They finally accepted it. I don't know if we want to do that anymore. So that's where a lot of the problem is. So finally, the developers, he said, hey, give me a listing of the owners. I'll talk to each one of them. I'll buy their unit. They wouldn't give them a list. So the developers started buying units. And he's up to about 200 and some right now that he owns. And now he's talking to other people. We went to a city board meeting. And all these board meetings, nobody got up from the complex and complained. One person from the HOA board did. And at one of the meetings, one of the owners after the meeting went to Jeff Tegetop on development and said, this is the first I'm hearing about this. And anyway, he went under contract by the end of the next day. The Kansas City Star came out with an article months ago, and if you remember it, fake news, I tell you, you had these 4 people leaning over the rail at their condo as the paper sat on. And the developers are kicking these people out of the home. They've been here for 10 years, blah, 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 blah. A week after that article came out, he's under contract to sell. So the latest development is this, to answer your question. Again, I told you before, it's 15 minutes, Gary, sorry. But the latest development is he said, I'll still buy for $8 million. And he's telling the many owners that'll listen. All right. If they won't do that, they're under litigation right now. He's telling the owners, I'll buy your unit. Anybody that says, no, we stay like the Ozarks Treetop, which is down HH, it's another timeshare. They have sent a press release out just last week and said, we will do a deed for deed transfer. Anybody who wants to transfer the newer units, it's upgraded, da 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 da. And the developer said, all you pay your first 3 years of your due.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
So that's where they are right now. The project was going to open, the Oasis project was going to start to, hopefully by next year, it'll be the following spring. They don't want to open mid-season and miss all the tourism. So it'll probably be open for business. That will be, hopefully be Memorial Day 2025. They'll work out an agreement on top of it. You might see a sign blasting is starting to begin. Most of that property around there, the developer owns all of that property except for those buildings. And so you cannot tell a developer you cannot build on the property. And they sent out all the literature that people at Art Lake, but hey, we're starting to build around it. You must buy a property. That answer. My time is about up. All in closing, I am going to run again. I've learned a lot. In fact, I shake my goatee off once in a while, but I had all these posters made, and I intentionally had them made with the date of the election at the bottom of the poster. So next year, whenever the election, I can just go ahead and move those. So I got to keep my goatee until at least next April. So the older I get, the more it turns gray. So we'll see. Yes.
Question, is there any plans for the alcohol?
Yes, it's under contract. Gary Crew developer has it under contract. They signed their contract in December. He's approached us with a couple different possibilities, nothing set in stone, but the concept of any developer has been the same. The buildings in back, they want to bring them up front. The successful stores, they want to keep them. Entertainment in the back, there's everything been kicked around from pickleball course to top golf to Bass Pro, you name it. A lot of things, nothing set in stone, but keep the good stores up front, entertainment in the back, and it'll happen.
Yeah, I've heard about quite a bit of great development in being a single family and Osage Beach is growing quite a lot. I don't know how much you have on that. That's good. Good news.
Well, and I don't want to take credit where credit's not due, but I guess the main thing I did was open up communication. Developers knew that the world was for business, and some people don't like the fact that our lake's getting busy, and I keep telling us our lake's been busy for a long time, and I didn't make up the same, but some people have that idea. They want to close the door on the way in. They love it, nobody else. And I had somebody across from the top that Oasis that I cannot believe they tore down all the trees and and I said, that's what your place looked like before they built your condo. So yes, sir.
I always had a question, and I don't know whether your memories there when they built a new Highway 54. Well, last weekend, we explained why they have bicycles. Why didn't they just continue that highway straight through? They've got a mountain of dirt there now. And why didn't they just leave 54 the way it was? Because it's business route 54. Now have very many businesses used to, but I thought that would be a lot better for travel, for people to come through without having to make that turn and come up and stop.
I don't know, is a short answer, before my time. But I will tell you this, and it's been approved, and they are, and I'm being told for sure now, because it's supposed to happen this year. But where Harley is, that half a mile that goes down industrial, they are gonna extend that. Because that's a pretty dangerous turn coming from Camdenton, and they're going to the A, so they're gonna keep the J turn, but they'll be able to turn there instead. Side note, this weekend, if you're not doing anything, we have the big food truck show. Excellent. It used to be over at Lori, we brought it, that was last spring, we brought it in. And from 10 to 7, Saturday and Sunday at City Park. Then the following October 13th is our big fall festival, and we're having a Kansas City Barbecue Society having a contest. I have like 25 teams. And stop by Harmy's. We have a new building out back. We show the Iowa Hawkeye games, the Kansas City Chiefs games, and we finally have occupancy. So you can come in and have a cold beer, watch some games, and
You can go ahead and sample cheese and have shots of vodka.
well, actually you can, but you can have Harmy's Hooch. We have our own flavored whiskey. Caramel apple, pecan pie, peach, and blackberry. I'm over my time. Any other comments, questions?
Nah.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.